Hey guys, first of all, I want to apologize. It's taken me a long time to post a video since I started my YouTube channel. Things have been a little crazy over here. I am getting to it. I'm also trying to learn a lot of kind of techie stuff very quickly, and it's not going very quickly. So thanks for your patience. Also, thank you for subscribing, and thank you so much to everyone who's uh, become a patron over at Patreon. I wanted to update you about one specific thing, which is my upcoming event on January 10th at the Vancouver Public Library. As many of you probably know, there has been some controversy around the event. Trans activists have worked very hard to have the event canceled. They have pressured the Vancouver Public Library to cancel the booking. They have accused me of hate speech and have sent violent threats to the organizers. And most of those threats were directed at me, but also at the organizers through Eventbrite, which is where we're selling tickets. And the library did commit to keeping the booking publicly, though they, in the process, disparaged me and trashed me, which was unnecessary and inappropriate, especially considering the threats of violence directed at me. I feel that disparaging me publicly plays into that, and I hope that Mayor Kennedy Stewart is listening, because he also publicly commented on the event, saying that it was despicable, referring to me as despicable, free of context, so who knows what it is about my views he finds despicable. Perhaps he just thinks that women's rights and women's spaces are despicable. A real progressive guy. But yeah, so they committed to keeping the booking, and then a couple of weeks ago, the organizers received a letter from the library saying that they were now demanding $2,000 more in security fees. So the organizers have already hired 7 security guards, but the library apparently wants to hire 7 more, because I guess we need 14 security guards to have a conversation about women's rights in Vancouver in 2019. And they also demanded that we hold the event after hours. So on a Thursday night after hours, that means 9:30 p.m. We did respond with a letter from our lawyers, and I will read you a little bit from that letter just so you can get a sense of the law and what the library is doing wrong by making these demands. So the Justice Center has sent a legal warning letter to Julia Morrison, acting director of the corporate services and facilities at the Vancouver Public Library. The letter asks the library to reverse its unlawful decision to move a scheduled lecture by feminist commentator Meghan Murphy to after hours and impose a security fee on the event organizers in the amount of $2,047.50. Meghan Murphy is the founder and editor of Feminist Current, a popular Canadian feminist website. A resident of Vancouver, Murphy regularly engages in public discourse on the subjects of sex, sexuality, gender, and public policy. She holds a master's degree from Simon Fraser University. I'll skip through some of the details here and just get to the end, because I think I filled you in on the other details included in the letter, basically. The Justice Center's letter, sent on December 14th, 2018, notes that the library is a government-run institution that is subject to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We do have one of those. Including an obligation to protect and uphold Section 2B, freedom of expression. As a government entity, it was improper to issue a statement taking sides in a societal debate and publicly stating that the library disagreed with Ms. Murphy. That is not the role of the state or of any public body, such as the Vancouver Public Library. The letter further explains that the library is not lawfully permitted to limit expression except in accordance with the hate speech I can't even say the words, never mind actually commit hate speech, with the hate speech provisions contained in Section 319 of the Criminal Code, or if the expression is so obscene or indecent as to cause harm incompatible with society's proper functioning. The library has acknowledged that there is no indication that Meghan Murphy will engage in criminal hate speech during her event. So despite what trans activists have claimed and continue to insist, I have not ever engaged in hate speech, and talking about women's rights and discussing Canadian laws and policies that are being implemented across Canada also is not hate speech. Asking questions about ideas and ideology, and again, thinking about the consequences that gender identity laws could have for women and women's rights and women's spaces and for free speech in general is, that's not hate speech. These are things that we should be talking about, and these are things that actually the Canadian government and Canadian media should be facilitating conversations about, but are not. The letter goes on to say, the possibility of protests and unsupported fears about safety do not justify the limitations of free expression occasioned by the demands. So, ironically, the reason that the Vancouver Public Library is saying that they need to hire more security is because of danger or potential danger because of these protests from trans activists. And at the same time, they criticized me and my views and said nothing critical about these violent or potentially violent protesters. Same thing for Mayor Stewart. I mean, to disparage feminists who are trying to have a conversation about women's rights and say nothing critical about the violent threats sent my way and sent to other women who try to have these conversations. Actually, I think that's despicable. I think that it's despicable that knowing that, I'm in danger and that other women are in danger, and to embolden the people who are responsible for those threats by calling our efforts at conversation despicable is wrong. And in fact, I think that it endangers women. So I think that the mayor and the library should be accountable for that, as well as trans activists and their allies. In any case, we did receive a letter back from the library yesterday saying that, we disagree with the positions taken in your letter. The event, date/time change, and additional security charges are not unreasonable. I mean, I think it's unreasonable to ask people to come to an event at 9:30 p.m. on a weeknight. I mean, I'm up, but I don't have kids who have to go to school in the morning. I don't have to wake up and go to an office at the morning or go to another job in the morning. I'm nocturnal. Not everyone is. Not everyone like me wants to work until like 3 or 4 a.m. every night. Yeah, I mean, it is unreasonable to ask us to hold a talk at 9:30 p.m. that's going to go to, 11:30 p.m. or midnight. But whatever. So the letter goes on over some details, which I already explained, and then says, the organizers must choose one of the alternate times proposed by the VPL and provide the security costs and proof of insurance by no later than noon on December 21st, 2019. I think they mean 2018. Otherwise, the VPL will consider the event to have been canceled by the organizers. They seem really thrilled about this part. As a courtesy and on a purely gratuitous basis. Very kind. The VPL would waive the cancellation fees and refund the deposit in full. We look forward to hearing from you. So we're not canceling the event. Clearly what the library is trying to do is to force us to cancel the event. This security fee issue is actually a tactic that has begun to be used at universities mainly, but I guess the VPL is catching on also. When I spoke in October in Kitchener, I was meant to speak about this same issue, about gender identity ideology and legislation and women's rights. And I was supposed to speak at Wilfrid Laurier University. This was an event organized by Lindsay Shepherd and her group, the Laurier Society for Open Inquiry, and the university told her and her group that they had to pay $8,000 in security fees, which is not possible for a student group. Student groups don't have that kind of money. The university knows that these groups don't have that kind of money. This was an effort on the part of the university to cancel the event without actually being accountable for canceling the event. So as far as I'm concerned, the VPL is doing the same thing. And we ended up holding the event off campus, and the event went really well. It was really interesting. We had a really diverse crowd. We had a really, I think, pretty civilized conversation. There were some trans activist protesters outside, which is fine. Protesters are welcome to come and protest outside. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, it was actually, this event here in Vancouver was inspired by that event because a couple of women saw how well it went and thought, we really need to have this conversation in Vancouver. There was certainly no hate speech that happened at that event. So we aren't canceling the event. We are going to have to hold it at 9:30 p.m. I don't think that we should let the Vancouver Public Library and the bullies who are trying to pressure us in the Vancouver Public Library to cancel the event to win. I hope that people will still support us and come out and show these people that we're going to have this conversation. There's nothing wrong with having this conversation. This is a conversation that the public wants to have. The public has questions, and the public deserves a space to ask those questions safely without being threatened by violence. And so I hope that you all will stand up with me and come to this event and support us and support this conversation, because the more people who speak out, that will embolden others to speak out. And right now, a lot of people are afraid. They're afraid to say anything. They're afraid to ask questions. They're afraid to say what they really think. And, fair enough. I think some of these activists are quite scary, and the threats are real. People have gotten fired. In the UK, there has been violence, but we have to push back. We can't let this be the new normal where we don't get to talk because of a few bullies. So I will see you on January 10th, and we're gonna have a conversation, whether people like it or not. The other thing is that Lakeman, who was involved, with the Vancouver Rape Relief Collective, with Vancouver Rape Relief and Women's Shelter for decades and decades and decades. She's a leader in the Canadian feminist movement. She's also going to come and speak about the Kimberly Nixon case, which is often misunderstood. She's going to speak about transition houses. She's going to speak about women's rights and women's spaces. And I think that she'll be a great addition to the conversation. And the very last thing is that I am doing a Reddit Ask Me Anything. So please ask me anything. Really, you can ask me whatever you want. I'm happy to answer your questions. I'm doing it tomorrow, Thursday, December 20th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern. So please come and talk with me. I promise to get more videos up soon. Like I said, I'm working on figuring out this tech stuff. I do have some help, thank God, because I'm really useless and really tired. And my brain is pretty fried from all of this stuff that's been going on. But I really want to do it, and I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to be having some conversations with some interesting people, I hope. Thank you. Again, thank you for your support. Please subscribe. And please sign up to be a patron on Patreon. I need to, take a break and have a glass of wine so that my brain starts working again. Good night. Thank you. Take care.